better get off that wall. Get down on it, to get right there, you can't sit down on it. Like a lollipop, look down on it. On the beat, I'ma spit right on it. That's it. How you gon' do it if you really don't wanna dance? I can't, big 40 in my pants. Other side is filled up with them bands. I walk in the party and get a stop.
It's happening. Oh my god, is it happening? For those of you who are not up to speed, the Boston Celtics went from playing like a bunch of toddlers to finally getting their groove together and playing the way they should in these playoffs. From being down 3-0 and now 3-2. And when you look at the history, Boston has performed pretty well in Games 6 and 7. And in spite being down 3-0, this team was always favored to win. And do the odds makers know something we don't here? And I think everyone knows from top to bottom, Boston's roster is just better, more talented, more depth. That doesn't mean they have more experience, and even I know that no matter how good a team is, no team should be favored down 3-0. You know why? Because it's never happened in NBA history. I'm sure you've heard this number before. 0 wins, 149 losses, and I'm sure you guys are being spammed with this everywhere because people genuinely believe Boston could be the first team to overcome this deficit. But dude, you gotta give a team like Miami their props. Like sure, they may not openly be the best team, but playoff Jimmy is a real thing, and they got very good role players that can make shots around them, and giving them a 3% chance to make the finals when Boston almost lost in a game 6 versus Philly is just blasphemy. I don't understand why ESPN does this. Like, they poke the bear if anything. But in the present day, now that Boston's won 2 games, I think all the pressure shifts to Miami, because if they don't win that game 6, I'm not gonna say it's a full-blown conclusion, but winning a game 7 in Boston after knowing you outplayed the so-called best team in the NBA in the first 3 games, it just hits hard, and I don't really see how Miami can come back from it. However, I give Miami a very good chance to win game 6, but I don't think it will be enough to overcome Boston in these next 2 games, and I will explain my full reasoning in a second. But if you guys don't know me, my name is Coast. I'm sorry I've been gone for about a month. Ever since I made that playoff prediction, I've just been so into watching these games and haven't really thought out to make some content. But I am back, and I encourage you guys to join the Discord server in the bio. We have a ton of people in there, and we used to watch all the playoff games, but we're definitely going to come back for the finals, and I know you guys will want to have some watch parties and chats. So hit that like and subscribe button if you're new, and let's get into this shit. So starting off with this breakdown, this has been one of the most unorthodox series I've ever seen, especially in an Eastern Conference final that we saw last year. It went totally different. However, we did end up getting a game 7 last year because of the Jimmy Butler heroics, and now I think it's Boston's turn to do some heroics of their own with this game 6 in Miami. But one staggering thing I want to point out is Boston just gives up a lot of the time. I don't really think they're getting beaten at all points in the game, but when their shots are not falling, and I'm talking about when they're shooting under 30% from 3, they just do not get back on defense. Whenever they're making shots, they will get back on defense, which is a very weird scenario for especially a team like Boston, who was first in the league for defensive rating. However, I do think some of this has to do with the coaching. Joe Mazzulla, never really been a fan. I feel like they kind of nerfed Boston by changing the coach. That's really the only difference in this team. But you can clearly see in this series that he's being way out coached by Eric Spoelstra, who is a championship coach. And when you're comparing him to a rookie such as Joe Mazzulla, who's definitely had a few outspoken moments, I know it's not all on him when his players just give up on defense, but just not really making the right X and O's throughout the whole game. Like, there's no way 3 undrafted players on Miami should all have 20 points of their own. And unless they severely outshoot you, which Miami has had in the first couple of games, they are really relying on the 3, and they have just made more in games 1 and 3 specifically. They really outshot Boston and got to a good lead throughout. But in game 6, if Boston can just make their shots, I'm not even saying they gotta outshoot Miami, but they gotta get back to those hustle plays. They got guys who are versatile, play both ends of the floor, and they got 2 all defensive team guards. There's no reason why Gabe Vincent should be dropping near 30 in these games. Jimmy Butler, they've held well in the last 2 games. They can try that, but you know he's gonna go off in game 6, so just limit the perimeter shots Miami makes to honestly blow these guys out, because we know Boston is the way better team, and especially in games 6 and 7, who they beat Milwaukee down 3-2 last year. They beat Philly down 3-2 this year and absolutely smacked in game 7. And I know I could provide more reasons how Boston could win this series, but really they're doing it to themselves. No one expected this 3-0 deficit, but that's all in the past. Boston has has the momentum. All the pressure is on Miami to come back. There's no Tyler Hero to spark the offense, and Gabe Vincent is still a game time decision. Whether he is in or not, I think it's going to be the Boston guards' turn, such as Smart, White, and Brogdon, to really go off in this series and show some of these undrafted players who they are, because Brogdon was a Rookie of the Year. In terms of the stars though, we've seen this so many times between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, the inconsistency. I feel like Jimmy's going to have a really big game. Bam doesn't show up too much in these games, and that's another factor why I think they'll just fall short in Game 6. In terms of closing statements, one of Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum's going to have to be big and match the productivity of Jimmy Butler, or at least try to, because we've seen Tatum most points in a Game 7 just recently, so it's definitely possible. But I really got to get this video out. It's 2 hours before tip-off, and I want to show you guys that I'm predicting this series. Boston will win this series. Mark my words, no doubt they'll be the first team to come back from a 3-0. I hope you all enjoyed this breakdown. I can't wait to see this whole series unravel in the next week, but I hope you guys all have a good one, and peace out.